let me first begin by commending the United Nations, UNESCO, for hosting this pre-summit and for focusing on education as a means by which the Sustainable Development Goals can be achieved. Your question is quite relevant. Let me say that I don't think it's a choice, of one or the other. We have to achieve both, and Jamaica's sort of economic history lays that out in stark terms, that having a sustainable fiscal trajectory, sustainable macroeconomic environment is a prerequisite of many other things. And Jamaica has put in place a number of economic reforms over the last several years to transform our economy, to entrench stability, and to put us on a firmly sustainable fiscal trajectory. Yes, it is still the case that we don't spend twice as much on interest. Today, it used to be the case about 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, we spent twice as much on interest as we did on education. Due to the reforms that we have put in, that ratio is now much closer to 1-to-1. And I look forward under my tenure for that ratio to move in favor of education expenditure to be higher than interest. However, as you mentioned, Jamaica spends 6% of GDP on education and approximately 20% of our non-interest budget. But as the conference has been, and the previous speaker, Mr. North, has highlighted, the quantity of expenditure is not enough as an indicator. We have to look further than that. And as such, I commissioned a public expenditure review in education, and the UNESCO, in combination with the World Bank, conducted and completed that for the government of Jamaica. And the results, I'll share with you. As far as quantity is concerned, Jamaica achieves the sort of benchmarks and ahead of many countries in the world, in the top quartile of countries around the world, as far as quantity of expenditure is concerned. However, when it comes to efficiency and it comes to equity and it comes to access, we fall short. As far as efficiency is concerned, education outcomes in Jamaica at the moment speak to a learning loss, that although kids complete a certain number of years of schooling, due to the quality, the actual education adjusted for quality is far less, and that learning loss is a cost to the society. We also have issues of equity, whereby our expenditure on the secondary education is neutral with respect to equity, or spending on tertiary education is sort of above average per capita per unit of GDP, so to speak, and therefore has some regressive elements to it. And we're spending far too little at the elementary levels. As Mr. North mentioned as well, though, there are other reforms that are going to be necessary for us to improve the quality of the expenditure. Yeah, so what we want to do is to make sure we invest more in data collection that allows us to monitor and evaluate. By not doing that, what we have essentially been doing is allocating 6% of GDP on an annual basis and not getting the outcomes that we want. By measuring and evaluating, we'll be able to make better choices. But in addition to that, Jamaica plans to make huge capital investments in infrastructure. We plan to build at the secondary level schools focused on science, technology, engineering, mathematics, as well as the performing arts. And we plan to invest in learning tools and improving learning environment, even as we look to rationalize distribution of existing schools, which today, does not optimize as respect to location or population, availability of teachers, etc.